Hi everyone! In this video, I'm doing a watercolor with my SCHMINCKE paints. It's been a little while since I did a watercolor video, and it's been an even longer minute since I've used these paints. Every now and then, I pull out one of my palettes and wonder, why did I curate this palette with these colors the way that I did? And try to use them and see if the reason why I put them together actually plays out in real life. When I was first collecting watercolor paint, I was really fascinated by the pigments and that there were so many different kinds and that they had different properties. So when I would explore a new brand, I would usually try and get pigments that I didn't have in my other brands with the colors that were, the basic mixing colors that you would need in any set anyway, but with different pigments. So my SCHMINCKE palette is one of those very odd pigment palettes, and I'm not gonna lie, I struggled a few times before I actually finally recorded this piece, because I was so used to some of the palettes I had been using already that I use as convenience palettes that are my little desk size tins. They're usually Daniel Smith, and I've grown quite accustomed to the colors that I use in those sets. So mixing skin tones and getting my shadow colors and stuff is really, I don't really have to think about it too hard, but yeah, I was like, what's going on when I was trying to use this palette, because I also remembered that one of the things that SCHMINCKE paints are known for, similar to Sennelier, is their delicacy and how you have to layer them. So it's all occurring to me because I'm late on the uptake with a lot of things. But that there's no one set of paints or paper or brushes that are quote unquote good. It all is relevant to how they work together. So for example, I really love this sketchbook. It's not cotton, but I really love it, and it works really well, unless you want to do super heavy wet washes, which it will not take. I mean, it can handle some water, more than most non-cotton papers, but yeah, you can't really layer over and over and add a lot of water. Your water has to be kind of on the thinner side, and so you can't use brushes that hold a lot of extreme amounts of water and all that. So it's kind of as you switch mediums, as I do often, I'm always kind of recalibrating, because my subject matter is the same and my results that I want in the end are the same. But if I'm using oil pastels or different paints and I want to switch it up and do something different, I have to recalibrate. And I always get all annoyed because I'm like, why isn't this working out? And I realize, I have to adjust some things, because it's kind of a theme that I have zero patience, which is why I paint so fast and kind of paint crazy. I am working on that, though. It's one of my goals for the new year, because that's what we're supposed to be doing right now, right? Just moving forward as an artist in my progress, I would like to be more patient, have more layers in my work, more elements. I really like abstract and other common, beautification elements like flowers and plant life and butterflies and skyscapes and things like that. But I just get so in the zone and into stuff when I'm in the middle of doing it that I'm like, I don't have time to plan all that and, lay out a composition, do a thumbnail. I'm just going to go for it. And that's kind of how I have the most fun. But, of course, unless I have something in mind that I'd really like to see executed, then it's usually a frustrating experience. So I kind of have more fun, I think, when I'm just swooshing the paintbrush around and jamming it into my paint wells and, going all nuts on the page. But I do enjoy the results that you can get with layering and patience, and I have seen that lately, especially when using the acrylic markers or the colored pencils and doing some layering, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happens when you go slower. That's what happens when you have patience with your art supplies. So, yeah, I'm starting to find a pattern too with the videos and the art creation as a whole. Because I find myself looking for the types of videos that I like to create, which is people kind of talking mostly about art, but even, life stuff, whatever's on their mind, whatever's going on, concepts, just funny humor, just humorous things about life, I guess I should say. But yeah, and then of course, whatever they're working on and interjecting some thoughts on the process and the supplies they're using. So I find those are harder and harder to come by. And they used to be all the time. And that's what really got me into wanting to do videos like that, because I really couldn't find them anymore. And I found a few here and there, maybe 2 or 3 that I really like a lot. And I really look forward to these people's uploads because I just, if anything, I grab my sketchbook and I sit down and I start drawing and painting and listen to and watch what they're doing. And it's just one of the things I find was the most therapeutic about YouTube and art during this crazy time in my life. I don't know about yours, but I know that it seems like everybody's kind of going through a thing in the past, 5 to 10 years. And that's what I'm hoping in the coming years of making videos and doing art, that of course there's always the opportunity for exposure and getting eyeballs on your work, but I think I've said this before, the sense of community and the experience of sharing just in general has been pretty positive for me. So yeah, about this hot pink color in this palette here. This is quinacridone pink. It's PV42. This is the elusive color that I had been looking for a while because Daniel Smith's version was really bad smelling and off-putting. And I realized that SCHMINCKE had it, so I made sure I got a hold of some, stuck it in this palette, and then realized a couple weeks later that it had the same problem, although not nearly as strong, where I can totally handle it. You gotta put your nose up to the palette or to the paint well itself to really smell it. But it also, when I went to go use it tonight, I had touched it with the wet paintbrush and it almost came flying out of the well because it was rock hard. And I'm like, what? I've never seen that in a quinacridone color before. But I think like Winsor & Newton SCHMINCKE colors kind of have a tendency to do that. Some of them anyway. But yeah, the positive aspect of that color is that it is not only extremely bright and it's very light fast. So where else are you going to find a hot pink light fast pigment other than PB42? Single pigment hot pink light fast. I think Opera is the hot pink of choice, but everyone knows that's fugitive, and unless you're really in love with it, most people stay away from it. But yeah, I had to really struggle with my color choices in this, but trying to get the contrast, I just used an indigo, threw a little quinacridone purple in most areas for shadows and the hair in the background to kind of balance it out, harmonize it, I guess you could say. I use this really awesome transparent brown for my dark browns. And SCHMINCKE has a transparent ochre that is pretty nice. So yeah, hope you guys like my hot pink hair girl and my crazy wild watercolor ways. And yeah, have a good night.